Good morning. Good morning, fishy friends all over the world, I guess. And I saw someone from Canada. We usually have the UK, Australia, South America, and of course, beautiful USA. Welcome to Cichlids and Coffee, or as in the case of Amon Mountain, Cichlids and Tea. So the drink of choice in the UK. So let's see who we have here and who's getting aboard as we speak. Allow a few more to get on. And I always like peeking in on the conversations that you're having before we get started. Jason Ferguson, first in the chat. Jason, if you'd like some stickers, I've got some great channel stickers here. You can see them. And if you would like some channel stickers, just go ahead and send me your address to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com, and I'll send you some stickers for being the first one on the chat. And of course, anyone who super chats today that would like some stickers, just go ahead and send me your address just to cover postage. Any super chat over $5 after YouTube takes, I think their 30% is what they take. That leaves enough for postage. I'll send you some stickers. And while we're on the topic, I want to go ahead and thank those who super chatted last week. We had some, let's see here. There they are. Those were last week's super chatters. Thank you so much for your support of the channel, my friends. It's very appreciated. When you see X2 next to your name, that means you super chatted twice. So very, very cool. Thank you so much for that. And super chatting is one way to support the channel, and there's other ways, which I'll cover with you in a little bit. And let's wait for a couple more folks to get on here, and we'll go ahead and get underway. And we'll go ahead and do the official start. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that sub and that bell and all that good stuff. That tells YouTube that something's going on that's good here, and encourages YouTube to get other people to see the videos and support the channel. Very appreciated when you do that, especially that bell, that notification bell that carries a lot of weight with YouTube, and it is very appreciated. Big shout out to the channel sponsor. That is the Cichlid Shack in Tempe, Arizona. Any order over $100, you can use Shack Attack 10, and you get 10% off on your order. Thank you, James Largo and the Cichlid Shack, for helping out with the channel. And also, those of you who have purchased mugs and used my Amazon link and gone to my store, thank you so much for the support. You can pick up shirts like this one here. And the back of it says, fish keeping's a fluid situation. And also, if you use the Amazon link for anything you buy on Amazon, it helps support the channel. And that's it with the commercials, for crying out loud. So, hey, a big thank you to Jesse, Mile High Freshwater. Jesse, Mile High Freshwater. Thanks for all you do for the hobby and for helping the little guys. And he sent me, check this out. He sent me this beautiful mug. How cool is that? Beautiful coffee mug. I think he knows I like coffee. And a beautiful sticker that I just dropped. This sticker is going to go on my sticker, the fridge. I have like 25 stickers on the fridge. This one will be joining them. Going to be in good company. Aquarium Co-op, Father Fish, a whole bunch of great stickers up there. He also sent me this t-shirt. Check this out. I'll be wearing that for sure. I think I'm going to wear it when I go fishing. That'll be a great t-shirt for that. But that's not all. I sound like the ShamWow guy. Reminds me of Dustin's fish tanks. I don't know why. Every time I see Dustin, the plant guy, I think of the ShamWow guy. And sent me, do you folks You folks remember that video on the Powerhead that didn't end well? That's the one where I was going along and really being impressed by the by the build of the in this case actually a wavemaker, the build of the wavemaker, the controls, the way you could vary the speeds, the way you could set it up to only run when there's light, when there's daylight, timing, pausing for feeding, had all these great features, right? So I get to the end of the video and it has a European plug. So what he did is he sent me the proper adapters. These are the adapters that I will be using. So he sent me the proper adapter to be able to plug in that. This goes right into the power brick. This little two prong thing here goes into the power brick, and then that able to run that power head. So I'm going to go ahead and do a test on that power head, probably on the tank behind me here, the one with the larger, the heavier stocked African Cichlid tank. And so that was very, very cool. Also, when nobody was paying attention, the channel slipped up over 38K. 38,000 subscribers. So 40,000, a number that was a little bit unreal to me in the beginning of the year. And my wife was laughing at me. She's like, why not? Why not 40,000? Why not 40,000? And I was just like, well, I don't know. It seems far off. And so we're 38. We're very, very close. And we're 38.95 this morning. And so 40,000, here we come. I mean, it's pretty exciting. If you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, nope, that's not the size that my channel will get. I don't know why I would have said that, but it just seemed like, like running a 4-minute mile or something for me would be like something comparable to that. Anyway, so good stuff. Good stuff has been happening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. I've got a trip to a fish store called 7 Seas. It was about 35 minutes from here. So one of you recommended. One of you said that you had a drive of about an hour or more and wanted to make sure it was worth the drive. Would I please go to 7 Seas? So I took a drive out there, and you'll see tomorrow the results. And I liked it. Small shop, but for the size, what they're doing with the size they have. And there's a couple factors I look at when I consider if I like a shop or not. And what do you think those factors are? When I judge a fish store and give it like a 1 to 10 rating, what do you think is the number one factor I would consider? Let me see if any of you are even close. Any guesses? Bronx Bomber, 50K. All right. 100K, KG Cichlids. I like the way you think, Kevin. So Trish comes right out with the number one. That is it. If the service is friendly and helpful, that is like 80% of the game for me. And I found that the folks at 7 Seas were very friendly, very answered my questions, were interacted with me immediately, welcomed me to their store, allowed me to walk around and film, and anyway, it was great. It was just a good experience. And then, in a close second, of course, is stock, variety, conditions of the tank, things like that. I mean, does it look like they really care? And I'll admit, I walked into shops. I remember walking into some shops in California, one in particular privately owned, and one large box. I think it was a PetSmart, where it really seemed like nobody cared. It was just disheveled. I mean, the tanks were disgusting. There were dead fish, sick fish, and the owner was a little bit, put off that I was there. And of course, he probably wouldn't want somebody filming such a mess, right? So at any rate, definitely friendliness, definitely the condition of the stock. Those are all like key, very, very key factors. So if you do have any other recommendations in the Middle Tennessee area, I don't really want to drive more than an hour because it's a little bit hard on my back to be sitting that long. The old mule ain't what it used to be. But to drive more than an hour, it's a little bit rough. But if it's under an hour away and it's in Middle Tennessee, like that Franklin place was just under an hour. Boy, I love that Franklin pet store. And of course, Critter's about half an hour away, Aquatic Critter. So we've got some great local shops. If you know of one here in Middle Tennessee around Nashville, let me know, and I'll give them a call and speak with the owner and set up a time when I can come by and film. And so let's get into today's topic. It looks like we're just under 100 viewers, which is kind of par for the course. It's funny how, I don't know if it's because of the time slot I'm in, but it seems like a lot of folks come in after. And by the way, big shout out to my moderators. Looks like Jerry is here, Kevin Green, GP, and Denny, one of the Oak Ridge boys now. Denny's going to be coming over and visiting me, and we'll probably do a video, a little collaboration here in the fish room, and that should be fun. This coming Wednesday, as they say in the South, God willing, and if the creek don't rise, I should have that 210 gallon, and I can start doing some work on that. And Denny will be here, and we can chat about ideas, things of that nature, and also maybe get some ideas about the sump system that I want to put on it. Denny is very familiar with sumps and actually helped me when I set up my first sump. Now, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. I think I've got most of the announcements covered here. And Super Chatters, I already called you out, and let's go ahead and talk about the five signs. Now, certainly there's more signs than this, and I'm certainly not the police or the I'm not the freshwater certification bureau, and so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But these are just 5 things that I came up with that would give me the impression that you're that you're a good fish keeper. Not that you would need my stamp of approval or anybody's stamp of approval, but these are just 5 signs that I think you're doing a pretty good job. And the first one that I'll bring up is your fish are not gasping. And this is something that I've talked about before. There's a couple of videos out there. One of them, I think, is called "Are we choking our fish?" I think one of them is called "Are we choking our fish?" Maybe one of the moderators can pull it up and share a link. And I think the other one's just called "Oxygen." But there are a couple of them that, and for a while, certainly when I first started or got back into keeping fish, it seemed to me like it was natural. Like, oh, okay, don't fish work their mouths on a regular basis? Isn't that just what they do? And so, no, that's not what they do. It's actually, unless they're in the middle of a chase, which cichlids love getting into, or they're fighting for position, like to get food, and there's a lot of excitement in the tank. Maybe you've been chasing a fish to try and catch them. Yeah, you're going to see them really working that mouth and breathing like as if you and I had just run up a very long flight of stairs. So, yeah, that makes sense. But just day in, day out, if that fish is working its mouth, something is wrong. There isn't enough O2, enough oxygen in the tank. And you can see as an example, just in the tank behind me. Let's go Let's go inside Ben's head. Let's go. Can you see their mouths? Look at their mouths. And look at the mouths of the fish again, through my head. Let's look at the fish in this tank. And there's a lot more excitement in this tank, a lot more moving around, but look at their mouths. Kind of locked shut, except for that yawning Venusis there. And that's really the way it should be. If it's not like that, it could be a combination of things. If your tank is running very hot, your oxygen might not, be getting dissolved into the water column because your water is very warm. Let's say you're keeping your tank up in the 80s, or you're doing a treatment for ick and you're running your temperature up. You're going to find that your fish are going to be a little bit depleted or less access to oxygen. So you throw airstone, you throw an airstone in there. And these Expertmatic filters do several things. They create water movement with the power head. They oxygenate by creating a tremendous amount of surface tension breakup. And of course, they store a lot of beneficial bacteria with the sponges. But as you can see here, we go over to the 90. The little Jack Dempsey there got his mouth completely shut. See the vieja? So that's what you want to see. You don't want to see gasping. You don't want to see them working their mouths. It's not something natural. It's not natural that they be working their mouths that way. I thought it was for a while. And one day somebody was kind enough to point out to me. They just said, "Hey, Ben, it's not really normal. I notice your fish are moving their mouths a lot. And when you think you know and you don't know, that's probably the most dangerous condition to be in. When a person who thinks they know when they don't know." And I sort of defended my fish, and I said they looked healthy, and the color was, they're eating, and I came up with a bunch of excuses, but the truth is, I was just being a numbskull. The guy, the person that corrected me was right. And so just as an experiment, I went ahead and took some of the canister outputs and turned them slightly upward, or moved them a little bit up with spacers so that they were breaking up the surface. And the fish immediately, their mouths immediately, locked shut, like the ones you see behind me. And that, of course, is going to create less stress for the fish. They're not dedicating so much resources into just trying to get oxygen. And so that fish becomes less stressed. So that's a good thing. So fish not gasping, that would be one of the things I look for. Another thing I would look for is color and fins are poppin'. And so the colors of the fish look the way they're supposed to look. They're not washed out. They're not, now sometimes with cichlids, you can get a subdominant fish that is intentionally trying to be colored down to stay off the radar of a more dominant fish. But you'll still see some nice color, usually some blue around the face and a blue around the gills, a nice fringe around the dorsal. So you'll still see some good colors. Fins spread out, not clamped. Clamped fins are usually the first sign that fish is feeling a bit, to use a phrase, under the weather. That fish is not feeling good. It's sort of like you curling up with a blanket on the couch when the flu is coming on, right? You're just like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and watch TV and kind of just chill. And, so the fish just sort of clamps their fins, goes into the corner, goes behind a rock, goes behind the heater, or goes somewhere. And not a good sign. So when I look at a tank and I see those fish, they're all like showing off and, like a peacock, putting out its feathers. And I know that's a healthy tank. And if you look at some of the fish, again, behind me, and I love being able to just go into these tanks. You look at some of the fish behind me, you'll see the colors and you'll see the fins. I mean, they're looking pretty good, I think. We take a look at these guys here. Look at the fins on that Placidochromis johnsoni. He's always being harassed by the dragon blood. He still looks really good. No real fin damage. Here comes the Autopharynx tetrastigma. Look at the color and fins on that guy. Here comes the little dragon blood, the tank jerk. But you get what I'm saying here. These fish are looking good. If that bicolor 500 would come out from behind the plant there, you'd just poking his head out. But he's got some beautiful color and fins. So that's what I mean when I say the fins and color is popping. So if it's not, something is wrong. We got to look a little deeper. Maybe do a water test like I talked about in that video. The rounded stomach. Now this is one that is pretty interesting because if your tank, and I've seen tanks on YouTube where the person was, sort of like showing off their fish in a way, and yet a lot of the fish had caved in stomachs. And that to me is it's going to predispose the fish to disease. It means that there's something going on. Either they're not getting the nutrition. Like there's some foods out there that have so much filler. There's so much filler and additives that the fish is using almost as much energy to move the junk through their body than the nutritional value that they're getting from the food. So they're not really getting much from the food. Or maybe the water is depleted of all minerals, and so they're not really getting the kind of minerals that they need. And so, at any rate, they're operating in a somewhat depleted fashion. Usually the case is when you see a concave stomach, either they're not eating or being allowed to eat by a dominant fish that's keeping them away from the food during feeding, or you have a parasite. So, you look for their poop and see if it's stringy and almost see-through. And then you have a parasite. Use something like Fritz Paracleanse, things like that. But their stomach should be nice and a nice smooth straight line down the body. There shouldn't be a caved in stomach. It should be, but it shouldn't be bloated. It should be sticking out on the sides, unless you have live bears and they're about to lay 100 eggs. Or not live bears, but yeah, live bears or egg layers. If they're about to lay, they can get a little fat before they're laying eggs, but they shouldn't have that bloated, like someone filled them up, with a bicycle pump. They shouldn't have that look like they're bloated. And so a rounded stomach, that's one sign that I would look for. And if I don't see that, it's just a flag. It's just something that makes you think, okay, something's off. There might be a parasite. These fish might be under stress. These fish might not be allowed to eat because there's, I used to have it when I had a Mbuna tank. I had a particular Mbuna that would clear out the entire, he would get everybody into the corner during feeding time. Meanwhile, the food is like sinking and floating around and nobody can eat because, he had to move everybody into the corner. And then when everybody was corralled and afraid to move, then he would go and eat and just have the lion's share. And he was a beautiful fish, a Pseudotropheus Pseudotropheus mapana, I think. Beautiful fish, purple and had purple and yellow in the body. big, big head. It was he looked like a wrecker. I mean, he looked he was just a tough fish. He looked like if fish could box, he looked like an ex-boxer. But at any rate, he would just keep all the fish corralled, and then he would let them come in and eat when he was done, and there wasn't much left. Now, active and eating like a pig. So I would expect your fish to be extremely active, always like moving around the way they should. If they're, and now granted, there are some types of fish that by nature tend to just sort of hang out. I think Jerry Martin, one of our moderators, he has a betta that likes to lay on its side. I used to have some clown loaches that would lay on their side. So there are some fish that can be a little bit sedentary, I guess would be, but the fish really should be active, and when you feed, they should be attacking. They should be really going after it, and really acting like pigs, and being really, really aggressive. I mean, these fish have had a big meal already, but if they thought I was going to feed them again, I mean, they were ready. They're ready to devour whatever I might put in there. And even though I think they're pretty full, I mean, they had a variety of pellets. They had some piscine. They had some extreme. I mean, they had a big breakfast. But they will devour anything I'll put in there, and they're constantly moving, always moving. There's only one little blue peacock in there that is the smallest fish in the tank, and he tends to hang out behind the caves. Not sure if you can take it out. These caves here, there's a little peacock behind there, and you can see him there. He's right on top of the caves now. He's a little bit afraid of everything that's going on. I think he'll do better in the 210-gallon with all of the fish put in. I think he'll do better there. So, and the last point, the last sign that I think you're doing a good job as a fish keeper, and you can probably guess what this one is, and it's fry. Doesn't mean that you're frying your fish. What I mean is you're getting fry. They're having babies on a regular basis. It's funny how nature works that out. Like if things are wrong or off, right? The fish don't breed. They don't, and if they do breed, very often the eggs don't hatch, or the fry don't make it. They're born too weak. So if you're getting just a real good amount of fry, and they're surviving, and you're having success as a breeder, that tells me that you're doing a real good job. Because if that wasn't happening, if you're trying to make it happen and it wasn't happening, it would mean that something is off, and it's sort of nature's way of saying, no, we're not bringing the species into these conditions, because they're we're going to dedicate resources to staying alive, not to having fry. And so that to me is the number one sign that you're doing a great job, is that you're getting, if you're a breeder, of course, if you're breeding fish, if you have males and females in your tanks. I've got basically male tanks, even though South Americans, I don't know what those are. And with the South Americans, it doesn't matter as much with the African cichlids. African cichlids, of course, the females are always 99% of them. The females are drab, so you try and get males. With the South Americans, it doesn't matter. I mean, the males and the females are beautiful. And let's go inside that tank. You can see it doesn't matter really. They're all going to end up looking good. That red spot, yeah, that yellow sebrum to me is like just a beautiful fish, very interactive. Usually reacts, always looking for me to come down the stairs. Geophagus are starting to get their color. Geophagus are starting to get up around 3-4 inches. The Viejas are starting to get some color. The AC Heckelais, they have the rounder body. They look like a Geophagus, but they're not a Geophagus. But they have a rounder body, and they're starting to get those long streamers on the dorsal. Very beautiful fish. Top and bottom of the tail also has a bit of a streamer on it. There's the red shoulders chasing each other as usual. Never anything violent. Believe it or not, I have a couple live plants in this tank that are tucked inside of the plastic plants. Probably going to contact Elite Cichlids and ask them about creating a plant where I have a bit of a plastic plant shield on the outside, but yet the middle is somewhat hollowed out and provides something that I can glue Anubias to, because I've been able to actually keep the live plants alive by tucking them inside of artificial plants. So we might have a solution here for being able to get the benefits of live plants in a cichlid aquarium that is notorious for destroying plants. That little Jack Dempsey actually started eating food that was dropping from the surface, where previously he would ignore that food and only peck off the bottom. Now he's eating. He's sort of caught on and eating like everybody else. We have a little bit of glare on the tank, if you can make out that starry night. Just a beautiful fish. Sometimes his dots go white. Sometimes they go blue. He is a very good size fish. Eventually, he'll have to go into a much larger tank. Those plants on the right there, those are, except for I think the broadleafy ones right in the front, but the rest of those, including the plant that's attached to the driftwood, which is real driftwood, those are from Elite Cichlids. The two middle pieces of driftwood are from Aquatic Critters, and the ones on the left are 3 pieces of Mopani wood. Mopani wood that is actually sold by Zoomed, and I picked those up for $10 a piece. $10 a piece at Franklin, the Franklin Pet Store. All right. Now, what do you think? What do you think are you see the stickers on my fridge back there? That's my sticker wall. So, what are your thoughts about signs that a person's a good fish keeper? I mean, certainly you have things like compassion. You know, the person does the work. I mean, you know, they actually will do they don't skip or cut corners on maintenance. And there's some things that are obvious. Their fish don't die. The fish are not sick all the time. I mean, there's certain signs, of course, that are pretty obvious. And I would like to hear from you what you think makes a good fish keeper. And I'm going to go back here and look at the chat because I have not been able to really follow the chat. The chat sometimes can be a little bit, of course, distracting. And what do we have? Oh, 130 something people on. That's great. Very, very good. And it looks like I might have missed some of the super chats. If I missed a super chat, I'm sorry. Let me scan through here and I'm scanning through here. Amon comes through. Thank you, Amon. My Nicaraguan cichlids have bread, giving them baby brine shrimp and crushed krill, flakes. Any other suggestions, Ben? I think what you're doing is great. I think, yeah, any good quality flake food that you simply crush up in the palm of your hand and then just let it drop in, that's fine. And maybe I don't know, some greens, maybe put drop a little spirulina wafer in there, maybe half a wafer, something like that. You know, it's give them a little greens. Shane Cowger, sign of a good fish keeper, following Ben's channel. You're too kind, thank you. Oh my goodness. Gary's Fish Room. You can use Epsom salt. Yes, you can. Kosher salt, Epsom salt. Basically, you'll get the same result. There's a great article at cichlid-forum.com, cichlid-forum.com, and it's all about water chemistry, and it gets into the different salts and what's making the difference, how to raise pH, how to lower pH. All this stuff is in there at cichlid-forum.com. Need to find some wholesale plants for my new 300-gallon pond. Casual Aquatics, wholesale plants. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you offered to buy plants in bulk from the aquarium co-op, maybe they'd give you a better price. If you bought a large quantity, maybe Dustin's would give you, because you need to go to these large plant people, and I'm assuming you want real plants in the pond. The fish place I just went to yesterday, the Seven Seas here in Nashville, had some beautiful outdoor ponds with lilies, these purple and white water lilies that were blooming. Absolutely gorgeous. And certainly if you can get some of those going. And then you had some fish in there just to give the plants some nutrients, right? I mean, this is where you want nitrates. Mile High Fresh Water. Mile High, were you on the live stream when I did the shout out for all the goodies you sent me? I hope you were. Gave you a nice big shout out, and I thank you very much for all of that. And some of you are commenting on, like Ralph mentioned, having the fish in the right size aquarium, and that's true. But remember something, and I've seen this sometimes. I've seen people post a picture of their baby Oscar, and they've got the baby Oscar in a 29-gallon, and people are jumping all over them. Oh, that's not okay. You're that's irresponsible. Blah blah blah, and realize, as was the case with me in California, there was a graduation process that goes on. So before you jump on the person, simply ask them, by the way, I'm sure you're aware, but are you planning on getting a 75 and then possibly at some point a 125, because that, or maybe you're going to rehome that fish at a certain size, or what are your plans for the future? And I just think as fish keepers, if we operate more from the viewpoint of finding out their story first, and instead of just jumping all over them, I think we'll do a lot better for the hobby in general. Ask first, like, hey, what are your plans? What are you thinking? What are you going to do with that red-tailed catfish that you have in that bowl right now? Red-tailed catfish joke. It's just the ongoing joke among. All right, let's see. Yes, Donald. Holding females can certainly look a little funny, and but if you know what's going on, you know that there's nothing wrong. They're just holding, and Pony, one of my looks like African peacocks, developed a cloudy eye. Not sure if he bumped it on some decor. What would you guys suggest? Thanks for your help. I've had success with cloudy eye with bumping up the water changes, maybe doubling them up. Instead of 1 a week, go to 2 a week, or maybe instead of 30-40%, go to 60-70%. Just a lot of fresh water, and it's amazing how fast they can heal. Same thing for split fins. The fish got into it with somebody, and his fins are split up a little bit. Very often, just good water quality. Good water quality is going to get that fish to just use their own natural healing process. That's been the only thing that's worked with cloudy eye. Now, when cloudy eye combines with some kind of a bacterial infection or a fungus of some kind, you've got to pull that fish out right away, put them in a quarantine tank, and start treating them with a general cure or something like that, Americin, something that's going to clean that up, because if it does infect and you start to get a white cotton or pus around the eye, that fish is either going to lose the eye or die, unless you intervene with some type of a medicine, an antibiotic of some kind. And I've had it happen. I had a one-eyed gar. I ended up giving it to Nolan's, and I just gave a bunch of fish to Nolan one time, and I remember him pulling that gar out and going, "He's only got one eye." He was a kid fish. He only swam in one direction. You just follow the one eye, and we called him. I think we came up with some pirate name for him or something. But anyway, looks like another super chat came in for. Let's see. I think I missed a super chat. Oh, Jerry. Hey, Jerry. Just because. Thank you, buddy. Be sure to check out Jerry's Fish Room. He's growing that channel. And if you haven't already, go to Jerry's Fish Room and check out what he's got going on. He's got some very nice fish, including a very pretty frontosa and really nice looking blue dolphin with a very nice big nuchal, one of those big humps, big foreheads. Anyway, he's got some nice stuff going on. Check out Jerry's Fish Room. I know Denny and KG also have, of course, channels. And you can check out KG and KG Cichlids and Denny's. I think it's Denny's Aquatics. They also have channels. GP, I don't think has a channel. GP, you post sometimes, I think, but it's not like you wouldn't consider yourself, I don't think, a YouTuber necessarily. And so if there's any other questions, let's go ahead and ask them. Before we do, I just want to share with you we had a very good response. Let me get this over here. We had a very good response to this video, Pro Fish Keepers Water Testing. And it was very interesting to me that the comments underneath the video aligned very much with the survey that I had done prior to releasing the video, a survey that's actually mentioned in the video. And the video was in no way an endorsement that you shouldn't test your water. You should test your water. But when you're brand new and you're sort of getting a sense of the hobby, of your area, the type of fish you're keeping, the water that you have, available to you, as you're starting to get that feel in the beginning, regular water testing is I think a good idea. As you start to get more and more grooved in and better in touch with what's going on and better at observing and taking action based on your observations, testing becomes more one of the tools that are available to you, but not something that you would be doing every day, every other day. Now, that being said, there were a few people, probably 1%, 2%, that mentioned that they had been in the hobby for a very long time, but still tested frequently. The vast majority, 98% or so, that were in the hobby for a fair amount of time, sort of, confessed or admitted in the comments under the video, yeah, I gave my kit away. I haven't pulled out my kit in a long time. My kit's expired. I don't test that much. And one bit of advice that I thought was really good was the person who said, I test my tap because the city can do crazy stuff with the water around here. So every now and then I'll test my tap. I think that's very smart. So I'm waiting for some test strips. I have some test strips, some of the API, or maybe they're Tetra. Maybe they're the Tetra 6-in-1. I have some test strips. And but I'm waiting for the ones from Corey at Aquarium Co-op. I work with Liz over there, Lizzie at Aquarium Co-op. And she's going to send me some of those test strips. And I think it's a good idea. Every now and then, test the tap, test your tanks, just see how you're doing. I remember a while back in a video, I talked about something called nitrate creep, and just sort of a term I kind of made up. But what was happening was the nitrate levels out of the tap in my Arcadia home went from almost zero when I first moved there to I think almost around 20 by the time we moved out of that house. I was getting about 20 parts per million. I don't know what was going on with the water source, but if you're getting 20 parts per million out of your tap, and you're doing less than 50% water change on an aquarium with 40 parts per million, you're really not going to get anywhere. Your nitrates are not really going to lower. And I came out, there was a video a while back that I released where I actually did the math on it. And I looked at, there was like an inverse for every 10 parts per million coming out of your tap, you needed to go 10% more below 50%. Or more than 50% on your water changes. In other words, so you have 10 parts per million coming out of the tap, you need to do a 60% water change. 20 parts per million, you need to do coming out of your tap, you need to do a 70% water change, or you'll never reduce your nitrates. They'll always be right around the same. So now, if you have a heavily planted tank, you might not care because your plants love the nitrates. Even though someone told me one time that it's the ammonia. It's the ammonia. And if you know this, if you're an expert in planted tanks, comment below. Is it in fact the ammonia that the plants are consuming, which is then preventing that nitrogen cycle, going into, O2 and O3, preventing the nitrogen and the nitrates from ever even forming because the ammonia is being absorbed by the plants. If that's truly the case, and you are a plant expert of some kind, aquatic plant expert, a comment in the comment, because is it the ammonia the plants are after, or is it the nitrates? The nitrates, of course, indicate that there should be ammonia. Of course, if you're importing nitrates from your tap, that's a little bit different, right? So at any rate, this video had good traction. It was released on Wednesday. It was over 5,000 views. For my channel, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good video. And it's certainly not viral. It's not going to break any. It's not going to 1 million. But 5,000 is a pretty solid performance for a video. And people seem to like that topic. If there's any topics that you would like to see in a video, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I very often, in reading your comments, is where I get the idea for my next video. So if you have some video that you would like to see me put out, please go ahead and share it in the comments. And I do take it under consideration. I can't promise you that I'll do it, but all right, let's go back here. Jerry, thank you for that super chat. I already mentioned that. Ricky De Hoyos comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Ricky. Here's something to put in your virtual Jesus. That's horrible imagery. There was a joke about trying to explain what a super chat is. I once used the analogy that, well, okay, imagine there's a pole dancer. And instead of putting a few bucks in the G, you can super. But anyway, people were telling me they had to bleach their mind after they heard that, and so we stopped talking about that. All right. Solar King Ronnie, New York water is the best. I used to drink it right from the tap. I used to go to New York on business on a very regular basis. And I used to come, the water comes from the Adirondacks, right? It's wonderful. But I heard they were having some infrastructure issues, and the pipes that were very old in the buildings, and that might be adding something to the water. You know more, you probably know more about that than I do, but I hope the water there is still as great as it used to be. 69 likes, is that? Thank you for those likes, everybody. I appreciate it. And Jamie St. Amman says, plants consume both ammonia and nitrogen. And I'm telling you, Jamie, if we can come up with a way to add the benefits of plants to cichlid tanks, and I'm gonna talk with Elite. We're gonna come up with this beautiful artificial plant cage that we can put real plants in the middle, but it'll be protected from the fish, and we can glue Anubias in there, and we can get the benefits because ammonia, nitrates, they add oxygen, they consume CO2, right? It's a great thing all around. Plants are just wonderful. So, but us cichlid keepers just have to go without, and then we're heavily stocking our tanks to spread out aggression. So it's a double whammy. It's just a crash. Unless you stay right on top of your maintenance, it's a crash waiting to happen, right? So I think this is why it's a good idea to add some mineralizing component to a heavily stocked tank. Limestone, aragonite, crushed coral, things of this nature that are releasing minerals so that you can keep the nitric acid in check. Because if it gets too high, what are you going to have? You're going to have a tank crash, a big pH shift, and you're going to have a lot of stressed out, if not dead fish, right? So there you go. So let's see. Any other questions or comments? We are getting close to the hour. And hey, Half Man, Half Cichlid is here. Welcome, my friend. We've been in touch with each other through YouTube for several years now, and I've watched him go from cichlids to a kinder, gentler fish. Got tired of the carnage, like so many people. So many people, unfortunately, get tired of the carnage. Ralph says, watch for fish distress, such as flashing, gasping, pacing. The flashing, keep in mind, fish do get itchy just like we do. And certainly if I scratch my shoulder, you're not going to think anything of it. But if during the entire live stream, I'm like, you're going to say, dude, you need to go get checked out. You've got, go get some, go get some cortisone 10 or go see a doctor for your psoriasis or something. But so the fish are the same way. If your fish keep flashing, there's something going on. They're reacting to something in the water. They have a parasite that has attached themselves to their body. Who knows? Something's going on. One flash, two flash. I've heard it can be territorial. I've heard certainly after a water change, sometimes you see it. I used to see it back in California after a water change. I'd see a lot more flashing than I see here. I hardly see any flashing here after a water change. I do see occasional flashing. Heath wants to know, you think we can get a promo for glass cages? Ooh, I'm going to ask him. I'll ask Joe. Glass cages is, they're the real deal. I mean, look at this tank. Three-quarter-inch thick glass. Rimless. It's just beautiful. Thing weighed almost 300 pounds. It's braced, it has a Euro brace on the bottom of the tank that runs right along the bottom frame of the tank, is Euro braced. The top is wide open, but it's just a beautiful tank. And they're the real deal. If I can get a code, I'll get one. And it looks like, see what happens when I go too long, the timer goes off on my, all of my tanks are on timers. And so that way I don't have to worry about it. So at any rate, I just want to thank all of you for showing up today. A big shout out and thank you to those of you who super chatted and to those of you who have visited my Teespring store or used the Amazon link. Thank you so much. For those of you who picked up t-shirts and mugs and things, thank you for the support. And a big shout out and thank you to my moderators. You are the best on YouTube. I'll say it again. And I've reached out to Candy and asked her what's going on. And I'm waiting to hear back from her. She may be so jammed between the move and working for the co-op that she doesn't really, can't really moderate anymore. And that's okay. I told her, look, I understand if you're too busy, that's okay. And, but with that being said, thank you everybody for sitting in today. I hope to see you next, this coming Saturday. We'll do another live stream. Tomorrow, watch for my visit to Seven Seas here in Nashville. I had a great time, small little shop, but the stuff I saw was very, very nice. And you can go with me tomorrow to Seven Seas, and we'll do a little local fish tour. Let's end off inside of the 90 gallon. What do you say?